Welcome to Working Dragon Mystic, where we discuss real, metaphysical, and occult knowledge so that you can manifest real and tangible results in your life. This week, we're going to continue with our kitchen witchery series that so many people have been requesting, and we've not put out a video on this in a while. And this one is a viewer request. Today, we're going to be talking about the magical properties of pork to finish out our other two videos on beef and chicken that we did. Now, I know a lot of people, they don't like pork. Growing up, I didn't. Outside bacon, it was hard to get me to eat pork because, I'll be honest, my mom does not know how to make a pork chop that doesn't taste like sandpaper. She overcooks them. And even pork tenderloin. Most people I know overcook it. It's just dry. And it is not very good. But then, of course, we do look at barbecue. Pork ribs, pulled pork, all these other wonderful things that we can do. And those are delicious, are they not? But we are going to show you how to do pork, not on the smoker this time. I know a lot of people want to have me do a video showing how I run my smoker to do some of these barbecue recipes, and I do plan to do that. You guys seem to be interested in that, so I will be doing that. But for this video, I wanted to give you a start on something simple, something anyone can do no matter where you're at, even if you're in an apartment. Even if it's a small studio apartment, we wanted to give you something to get you started with. And we're going to do more recipes and kitchen witchery on here like this. But we will do some outside on the grill, giving tips on grills and smokers and whatnots that you can do very simple. And we will keep it simple. Won't get into the fancier stuff. There's barbecue channels for that. We'll keep it simple here. Okay, so what can we use pork for in our kitchen witchery? As you know, many of the ingredients in the kitchen can be used for many, many things. And for me, kitchen witchery is almost the essence and soul of magic, because it is using what you have, it is using your daily life. In one of my videos, we talked about living a magical life and how every aspect of our life is magical. And there's, even without using kitchen witchery, there's something magical about a mealtime. Think about it. We even gather around food. You can tell so much about a person or a people or a culture based around their food. So, in the case of pork, I dove in, I pulled all my notes for the big ones. Okay, so pork is great in fertility magic, good luck, and prosperity magic. This makes sense, especially when we talked about Expoonwell, the prosperity dragon, which we did a video on. He adores pork rinds because it does deal with that prosperity and that luck. So pork is also great for abundance magic, wealth magic in general, strength, and as well as magic to help you never want for everyday needs. Now, a lot of people don't like that one, everyday needs. So many people are stuck on the extravagant lifestyles and the excess of living that they really don't appreciate the everyday things or what it is to have those staples and that security. Pork is definitely one of those things used in your magic which can help you meet those everyday needs far easier. And lastly, this is one people don't think about. It helps in intelligence and knowledge. Pigs are very, very smart creatures. They are very smart. They have intelligence to boot. In fact, I believe they're viewed as one of the smartest farm animals. Also, the pig doesn't really care what other people think about them. They have a self-confidence about them, and you can tap into that as well. Not only these prosperities, the strength and this intellect, but you can actually separate yourself from the drama that people can bring in because you are self-secure. You are happy with yourself. I've seen this applied to depression. I've seen it applied to anxiety. I've seen it applied to just any way that a person is feeling down. You can utilize pork to bring that confidence and that self-care back to the person. And it is a marvelous way to do it. Now, for this video, we are going to, of course, have to cook something, aren't we? So, sticking with our theme of everyday needs and prosperity, y'all know I'm a practical guy. So, pork tenderloin, not practical. Pork chops, You can find pork chops on sale pretty cheap, but let's be honest, by the time you cook them, they're just dry. They're not good. What I like to do, no matter what I'm doing, is I buy this. This is a pork shoulder roast, or a Boston butt roast. It is a pork roast. It contains tenderloin in it, and it is well marbled and very fatty, as you can see, which is going to save us from drying out. Now, any of you barbecuers out there, you're going to recognize this. This right here is what you would throw on your smoker and slow cook for anywhere from 8 to 16 hours to do pulled pork, which is amazing. And yes, we'll have to do a pulled pork video. However, when I don't have time to run my smoker and anything, I still buy these. This here costed me, let's see, only 15 bucks. I'm rounding up, for 10.5 pounds of pork. So yeah, that is easily, $1 a pound, give or take. So it's very, very affordable to buy it like this. No, it's $1.40 a pound, exactly. So it's very affordable. But I know what you're thinking, Drake. I ain't got time. I don't eat that much, and that's the beauty of it. What I do with this is I will actually take my own butcher knife, and I will slice this into pork steaks, roughly 1/2 inch thick, that I can then freeze and cook one at a time as needed, slowly. Now, this is still a pork roast, and anyone who's ever tried to sear pork roast knows that, like chuck, it will get tough, it will get dry, and you're just going to be gnawing on it. However, I will show you a way that you can cook these pork steaks, and they are amazingly delicious. Also, when we slice this, and I'll show you what it looks like after I slice it, there's a bone in here. I always buy bone in, but you're not going to be able to slice through that when it comes to slicing out the steaks. However, I have a use for that without trimming it that is amazing and will create a dinner in and of itself. So one of the recipes that we will do will go around that. So, tell you what, let's go to the kitchen so I can get this sliced up, and I will come back with the slices and show you what we got. Okay, so here we got the pork roast laid out on the cutting board. I'm going to try and show you what this looks like without getting in the way. Now, for those of you who say, Drake, I don't have a big, fancy, expensive kitchen knife to do slicing, I present for you the old hickory chef knife. This knife right here will run you 15 to 20 bucks on Amazon. It's easy to care for. It does require a little oil. You can't wash it in the washing machine. You have to hand wash it. But this little guy here, he'll get it done. My grandmother had one of these for generations, so they do last if you take a little care of them. And if y'all want, I'll show you how to actually take care of one of these. Now, when I said we're going to slice this, you'll see I've got it laid out here. The bone is actually back on this side, so I got the bone back here. And then I will just take my butcher's knife, and I'm going to carve straight down into that and cut off a steak. Now this one's got some extra fat on this side, but that's okay. In fact, this is what's called, this right here is what's called the fat cap. This is actually just a layer of a fat. You can trim this if you want. But as many of y'all know, I do eat a carnivore diet, and because of that, whether you're eating carnivore or keto or you're trying to eat healthy, you can eat some of those healthy fats. So I do try to leave that on there. It also helps you get full quicker when you're leaving out the carbohydrates. As you can see, you can just easily slice through there with this cheap knife. Okay? You can see, El Cheapo knife, no big expensive anything, and it just carves right through this pork roast. Now, I'm not trying to be exact with them. I shoot for roughly 1/2 inches. And if it's just me and all I'm eating is pork, I may just cook up one of these for just me. If I'm making dinner for 2 and we have sides, I'll split it. But if we're only eating this and no sides, then I just serve the whole steak. Pork steak, but it's still steak. Alright, and we have officially hit that bone now. So this is where the shenanigery has to start, because you gotta get around that bone a little. That's okay, not gonna be an issue. So there we go, we got several good pork steaks out of that. Now, you can also start cutting you some smaller steaks off this end. Again, we're just trying to utilize as much of this before we hit the bone as we can. Okay, going down. And okay, I think we found the bone on this side. No, I didn't. My imagination. That's what I get for being afraid of a camera. Okay, there's the bone. Okay, so we hit the bone. Now, I am actually going to keep this right here on the bone, because that right there I'm going to use to make a pork soup, and I'm going to let it slow cook and simmer down to add the meat in. And I actually want the flavor, the fats, and everything in it. So we will be hanging on to that. So real quick, let's look at what we got. We have us a wonderful, wonderful hunk of pork and bone that we will be using to make a pork soup or stew. And we got, looks like 4 smaller pieces of pork that could be used for lunches or something. And we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 good pork steaks that could feed 1 person by themselves, or 2 people if you split them in half with sides. That right there for $10 is easily going to feed 2 people for a week. If you want, I'll do the math on that a little bit later. So let's get back to the desk. Okay, so now we got that all sliced up. Now what I do with it once I have it sliced up is I'll put it in freezer bags like this, and I'll label it. I like to label it because we keep a lot of pork and beef in the freezer, and when this freezes, it can be somewhat difficult from time to time to tell it from beef. Though I think the marbling on this is going to make it pretty easy this time, I will still go ahead and label it. I like to label it so that there's 1 meal per bag. So the big pork steaks like this that I cut, I put them in 1 bag. Whether I'm just going to eat by myself and all I'm having is the steak, or whether we're going to have some kind of a sides and my wife will be eating dinner with me, I know that I'm going to pull this out and either slice it in half or cook it as is, so it's 1 meal. The smaller ones you saw, I do go ahead and put 2 of those per bag. Now, one of those pieces you may have saw came off extra small. I did go ahead and go back and carve just a little extra off the pork roast bone that's going to make into the soup, just so that there is an equal amount in that bag. So there's actually 3 small, or there's 1 of the normal pieces and then 2 smaller pieces in there to even it out with the other bags. I counted. There is 7 days worth of food that came off that pork roast that I put into these baggies. Now, the bone section of that roast, we're not going to freeze. We're going to go ahead and we're going to make a stew with that tonight and share how to do that with you all. That stew will probably get us through 2 days worth of food. So you're easily looking at, for me and my wife, and we can eat a bit, 9 days worth of food. That's more than a week's worth of meat and 1 pork shoulder that only cost me $15. Okay, so this is a very, very affordable method to do this. Now, with that said, I'll move to the kitchen and show you how we're going to put this very simple, very easy to do stew or slash soup. Honestly, whether if you like it thicker, it'll be a stew. If you like it thinner, it'll be a soup. My wife tends to prefer things more on the soup side, so that might be the direction I go here. So what I'll be doing with this simple soup is I'm going to be adding carrots and potatoes to it. Now I usually don't use potatoes. We're putting the potatoes in there because this is a video for the channel and most people do eat potatoes. Also, it is going to be a nice treat for me and the wife. The nights have gotten colder here. She does work outside, so she can only get to come home tonight and have a nice hearty soup with some potatoes in it as a treat, as well as the carrots. We don't use a lot of carrots. They actually have more sugar than people think they do. Now, you could easily just make this into a carnivore soup with just the pork and using some salt, pepper to season, and then you have that nice hearty broth with the meat in it, and it's really good that way. Another variation, which I do plan to cook on and show you what I do with this, is you could replace both the potatoes and the carrots with cabbage, or you could even mix the carrots in with some cabbage. But we got plenty of time on the channel to do all these. So first off, let's go ahead and get in here and let's do this soup and show you how to make it nice and simple. All right. Okay, so here we are. We are going to go ahead and we're going to make this stew/soup. I think by and large it's going to be thicker than not, so it probably will end up being a stew. Now here I sliced up about 6 russet potatoes. Just slice up what you need to get what you need. I did a very rustic slice, and I'm actually just going to toss those in. I do want these to be fully cooked so they just fall apart. I don't want them to be, crunchy or anything like that. We like ours to fall apart, and it also helps to add a little body to the soup or stew. Or stew. Stoop. I think that might be a Rachel Ray word. Something between a soup and a stew, right? So once you got that in there, I will chop potatoes, but I do not like peeling carrots. So I have here a bag of carrots, which are not wanting to open. So I am going to cut those and edit that out. And just like the potatoes, I am just going to toss those carrots in. That's one reason I enjoy buying baby carrots. They go a very long way. And, well, you can just dump them in there. At this point, you know what? There's no reason in actually saving these back. So I'm just going to pile it in there. Yeah, this is definitely going to be a stew. Okay, now, you can season this however you like. You can throw in some garlic, you can throw in salt, pepper. I've seen people have great success with rosemary. I am actually going to go with salt. Now, I know this looks like a lot of salt, but this is really, really good salt. And more often than not, whenever you're using a crock pot like this, you find out you didn't put enough salt in it. So, because all the moisture and everything's going to cook out. We also like a good dash of pepper. Okay, dash nothing. We like a lot of pepper, as you can see. Now, I will be putting the lid on this crock pot. And you'll notice I got this little baggie here. This is optional. This is because I'm lazy. You could totally just throw this straight in your pot with no issues at all. All this does is once this is done cooking and we're done eating, you lift this straight out and your crock pot just needs a quick wipe down in the sink and you're done. I will be cooking this in the crock pot for 8 hours on low with the lid on, and I won't need to touch it. Now I will be putting water into this, so let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so we put the water in, and the water is just about right there. So it's about 1 inch from the top. Now I will be cooking on low, so the steam is going to slow cook everything. Like you saw in the Yule roast, you don't actually need water to cook the meat. The heat from the thing will slow cook it nice and tender itself, but we're making a soup, so the moisture is going to be helpful. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and I'm going to set this on for 8 hours on low, and we're just going to let it ride. Okay, so you can see I have that set to low. I got one of these, this thing's old as can be. Hopefully I can get it to work. Okay, it's still working. Here we go. Now you'll see I got it set for 8 hours. That's the minimum. I like to go ahead and bump it up to 10 hours just in case I can't get back to it. It'll keep it nice and piping hot, especially in these winter months. But you should be able to get away with 8 hours. Now, how will I know it's done? Well, once it gets done, I'll show you, but that pork roast should start to fall off that bone when it is good and done. I shouldn't have to cut it off in any shape, form, or fashion. Should be able to mix it up really easy. And that's what we're going to be looking for. Now, when we get to that point, I'll come back here and show you, because until now, there ain't nothing but sitting here and watching a crock pot, and let's be honest, that's not good entertainment. So I'll catch you back here when this is done, and I'll give you the final count on how long it took. That's it. It's that simple. Oh, real quick, I did add the potatoes in for strength and healing. I also added the carrots in there for their healing and recovery properties. And in this case, the pork is also there for prosperity and strength as well. Many of you know I've started a new workout routine, so I'm wanting to try and help with my health and strength gains as I'm beginning to do some strength training, and that is actually the goal for this particular soup with my kitchen witchery. So I'll see you back here in about 10 hours to check on our progress. Okay, so a quick update. The stew is doing amazing, and it smells great. Whole house does. What I wanted to show you though, look at that. The bone just lifts out with no effort at all. That's how you know that the pork is done. Also, that bone is great for spell work. We'll be talking a bit more about bones and kitchen witchery a little later. Wife doesn't get home for a little while, so I am going to mix this up, set it to warm, and it's done at this point. All I gotta do is mix it up. And you can see I'm just doing this with a wooden spoon. You can do it with tongs or whatever, but it will just fall apart. You can see I made it a bit more soupy. Add less water if you want it thicker, because I love my wife and she likes it more soupy than stew. That is it. Hope you all enjoy. Okay, so there it is. A very easy and simple stew using pork and the magic properties of pork, as we discussed in this video. Now, this is a very simple, easy, almost recipe-less dinner to make for you and your family. However, kitchen magic is about creativity, it's about fun, it's about enjoyment, it's about experimentation. If you don't like potatoes or if you don't like carrots, take them out entirely, replace them with something else, throw in your own things, customize it, have a good time, change out the seasoning. Maybe you want some bay leaves in there, maybe some oregano. Maybe some cayenne pepper. I know some people like spicier soups. There's a lot of things you can do in order to change this up and make it truly yours as an individual. Kitchen magic is about creativity. I'm just showing you a basic concept here. Slow cooking that hunk of pork on that bone is really the takeaway. Once you understand that you can slow cook that in your crock pot, so you can literally just throw your stuff in there, turn it on, and walk away. From there, you can build on that in any shape, form, or fashion, continuing to look up other ingredients and whatnot and their magical properties. Also, remember this. The magical properties and correspondences of a food, whether it be pork, lettuce, carrots, black pepper, doesn't really matter. They're just a correspondence. What really matters more than anything else is your intention and the intention you imbue into the food when you're cooking for your friends and family. There's a reason that we actually refer to love as an ingredient. It is amazing how much that emotional feeling and compassion that one has when they cook for their family or loved ones can really make an impact onto the food. As well as someone who just enjoys cooking. Their enjoyment of cooking too can pass on there and makes it taste amazing. So if you can't find a correspondence. And I wanted to get the meat correspondence up there because no one ever wants to talk about meat. They never want to talk about meat. So we're going to make a point on this channel to do a lot more meat when it comes to kitchen witchery. But I want you all to remember what you think of when you pick up a food, when you pick up an herb, a spice, a seasoning. What it means to you is going to be infinitely more powerful and more potent than a random correspondence table in a book or on the internet, even if it comes from Scott Cunningham himself. There are traditional meanings, and yes, you can leverage those. You can leverage those, but just because they're traditional doesn't mean they are the rule, and that is it. What it means to you matters more than anything, and that in and of its own right is one of the things that makes kitchen witchery so fantastic and so accessible to every practitioner out there. Alright, give this recipe a try. Drop some comments below. Let me know what you thought about it, and if you tried it. Hey, and if you change it out and experiment with it, let me know what you tried. I'd love to know that. Also, if you are a keto or carnivore diet like myself, please give me some of your ideas on how to keto carnivore this up other than the cabbage version or whatnot. I love recipes, and I'll try them out, and hey, who knows, maybe I'll even spotlight one of your recipes on here as well. Anyways, I hope you find this video helpful, and I hope you enjoyed the soup, and until next time, I'm Drake. This has been Working Dragon Mystic. Take care. Bye-bye.